Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I've been recently toying around with the M13 again. The M13 is one hell of an amazing rifle, but it's also known as the Peashooter. Usually, it's rather used by new players because the gun has literally zero recoil. I mean, you can just do this and you more or less just shoot on the same spot, and that like kind of always. So that's quite cool on the M13 on any distance, but it also does no damage apart from if you're hitting headshots. That's kind of the video already. M13 explained. No, let's go down on the recoil patterns, no attachment recoils, which attachments to take, a long range build, a short range build, a mid range build, a build together with snipers, and many more exciting things about this gun that I do dearly love playing since day one of the Warzone. Let's crunch some numbers on the M13. The M13 does 36, 24, 24, 24 damage with a super high fire rate of 900 RPM, but still maintaining a good vertical recoil on this insane high fire rate. Loses some damage on range down to 19, 19, 19, but on this, the values are actually okay, especially with the insane bullet velocity paired, the gun is a beamer. If we compare this to the Kilo, for example, the Kilo is one of the guns that we also consider the Peashooter. Lower fire rate, same bullet velocity, 4 more damage, and on headshots, 6 more damage, up to 30 meters. After that, actually, you know, there's the sweet spot where kind of the M13 is a tiny bit better for a little bit. Then afterwards, again, the Kilo is worse and the M13 is better. So it's kind of like both guns good on each distance, not really given and taken that much. Let's look at that in the time to kill charts. We have here 250 health with 3 plates, chest shots. And we can see this here perfectly. The M13 slight lower time to kill, obviously due to the less damage in the beginning. The Kilo being better there. Then the M13 being better. Then the Kilo being better. Then the M13 being better for the rest of the game. Most important part here is to consider headshots. Boom. And suddenly the M13 is better than the Kilo. But that means you're going to hit headshots. Headshots are easy to hit in the 20 to 60 meter range, up to 100 meters too. That's where you can hit headshots. But in the close range, obviously with the B-hopping, corner jumping, crouch shotting, whatsoever, that's where I'm saying, yes, the gun might not be optimal. You're going to hit your chest shots. So when you're playing the M13, it is mostly used as a VLK gun for 20 to 60 meters and more. Whereas you can also pair it together with a sniper. But when you play it together with a sniper, don't use it super aggressive. Don't be the first breacher. Have your teammate be the first breacher and follow up to like grief everyone that has been still there and be absolutely precise. But you're not going to be the buddy hopping freak that flies around the corners. And yes, there is also an absolute close quarter combat build that you can use inside of buildings that you could then use together with an LMG, for example. Yes, AAR build. We're going to show you all 3 builds. The SMG build, the mid-range build for snipers, and then the VLK build that's probably mostly used. But let's first look at the standard recoil patterns, how the gun behaves, and then look at the builds to counter these recoil patterns. This is the M13 without any attachments on it. Just the 60 round mag to give you a better feeling for how the gun behaves. We're going to shoot on a quite bigger range to just see how the gun would perform on these mid-ranges where it's mostly being used at. As we can see, the gun has a gigantic pull to the right. And this is like mental how much it actually pulls to the right. But very important also to notice it. The shots are really squashed. There are no gaps between the shots. And that's what we said is a laser gun that shoots peas. And most important also the spread. The horizontal spread is not really there. There's not so much deviation going on. So what we would need with this gun right now is something that pulls this down. At the same time, minimizes these here a little bit, and then we're good to go. And we have an absolute complete laser gun. Just need some range, bullet velocity, and we get this. Let's go into the builds. Okay, base M13. Super high vert recoil, pulling off to the top right. The horizontal spread, not really there. So we don't have to look at a muzzle brake. Muzzle brake would be the attachment to work really against the horizontal spread together with a commando grip. But as it doesn't feel like there's a lot of the horizontal, you kind of want to fight the vert more, but you also maybe want to have the bonus of aiming stability to just make your recoil curve be a little bit more smooth. I'll explain more of that in the recoil experiments. Then as a barrel, we would obviously be going for the Tempest Marksman, maximum range, bullet velocity, and recoil control. Yes, there is a suppressed Cyclone barrel, but it does not give you the bullet velocity that really brilliates over the long ranges, because with the Marksman, you're roughly getting 60% gain, with the Cyclone only 30. And that makes the Marksman so much better. We're going to slap on the Monolithic Suppressor for even more velocity and range. And then we're going to put the VLK on that does 10% horizontal and vertical bounce control, plus then the 60 round mag. And this is the absolute slapping version of the long range M13. I'm going to show you, obviously, when we look at the recoil just in a second, also how the Commando Forgrip does behave in comparison, and why I do personally think the Ranger's best. Yes, also there's an option for the Operator, but I did extensive testing and it feels that the Ranger is just the grip to go. Keep in mind, it's also often, when it comes down to the grips, personal preference. But now let's look, how does the gun recoil actually do behave? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have looked at the builds now, and this would be the Ranger Forgrip build. You can see that was standard, no recoil, no pattern, nothing. You saw the gun completely just go for it. And here's the Ranger Forgrip with a lesser vert recoil and also really nice aiming stability. The curve is quite straight, there's no wibble wobble happening, and this part here is also slow, so you're straight up used to pulling the gun down. Just when you're shooting, you know, the gun goes that and you're pulling like this. And here we also put on a Commando Foregrip for you to kind of give you a feeling for how much is the aiming stability of the Ranger helping. And as you see, the Commando maybe squashed a little bit the horizontal bounce, which is not really existent on the gun. As you can see here, the slight thicker parts. But what it also did, it made the curve a little bit weave and bob more. Like if I'm shooting this, it feels like, oh yeah. Whereas when I'm shooting this, it's like, oh, whoop. You just pull it through, right? And that's where I prefer the Ranger Foregrip here tremendously over the Commando Foregrip, because it's just on point. But let's do one more test where we actually do the Ranger and the Commando straight up just spraying and controlling the gun. Same spawn. How does that feel? We're going to start with the Commando first. We're going to put it straight up over the Commando line and just spray and try to hold it. And obviously, you're going to pull bottom left with this gun to make it work. Gigantic mushroom there. And keep in mind, this might also be hardcore down to personal preference end of the day. Because sometimes you just do what you do and you just got to get used to what you have there. Okay, and here it goes as we can feel. The horizontal spread, tiny bit higher. Like really, if we would measure the pixels from here to here, I guess it wouldn't even be that much bigger. But you see that the bonus vert recoil just helps me to take care of these here, which means we can hit easier headshots. And that's what I'm just saying, the Ranger Foregrip over the Commando Foregrip tremendously. Yes, there are more ADS frames on the Ranger than over the Commander, but with the bonus aiming stability, with the spray here, it's just tremendously easier to control, and you're just hitting straight on the sweet spot. That was our standard VLK version, though. But I promise you 2 other versions that are going to be absolutely cracking. So let's look at those builds now. We figured recently out a version that extremely well works with the sniper. And I'm really surprised about it because it has a little nice twist for me. I'm going with the Tempest Marksman barrel still. Yes, you would think probably, oh, why not the Tempest Mini or the Tempest Cyclone? Again, you just want to have this killer bullet velocity for the mid-range shots, and even for the short-range shots, it doesn't hurt to have the absolute vertical control over your gun to really be shooting on one single point. Still, also, you're using it for mid to short range. The Ranger Foregrip is your way to go if you want to have these bonus ADS frames. Yes, the Commando Foregrip can be your friend, but it just feels so much better with the Ranger Foregrip. I play the gun with a Solo Zero Optic Mini Reflex currently. I would go for a Corp holo sight as soon as I have the blue dot unlocked, but I don't have that yet. We still need the 60 round mag, and here comes now the turning of the clue point. No, you're not going for a monolithic suppressor. No, you don't need a monolithic suppressor on the gun. No, it doesn't do anything for this build because you also need to use this inside in buildings and close quarter combat. So what we're slapping on is a tac laser because it really gives you the aim down sight speed, aiming stability, aiming walking steadiness. And the most important part is that with the aiming stability from the laser and the aiming stability from the Ranger Foregrip, you're really smoothing your recoil curve to make this an absolute beautiful laser of a gun that can be used on any mid to short range. Just keep in mind, you're not the bunny hopping monkey that we said earlier that's throwing around corners, that's doing MP5 things. You're going to play this a little bit smarter, a little bit more conservative. It's not everyone's playstyle, but it's your M13, Kar 98, AX50, HDR, sniper playstyle. There is the final build for the crack hats. For the absolute crack hats in you. That would be a 60 round mag. You're gonna slap off the stock. You're gonna jam on the tag laser. We're gonna bring down the commando foregrip. You're gonna play this no scope because this is what you're using inside a building. And now I would actually not slap on a barrel. You have in the last attachment absolute free choice. You could technically go for a Tempest Mini to go even faster on the aim down side speeds. And then this is like an absolute slapper inside of buildings. There is a world where you put on a compensator if you do feel like it. Also, if you really don't want the Tempest Mini, because the Tempest Mini will increase your recoil even more with the no stock, and it might be too much, there is your friend, the Stipple Grip Tame, and that's going to be your close quarter combat M13 slapping inside buildings. Keep in mind, again, even with this build, headshots, 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 headshots. That's your bread and butter. The advantage of this gun is also a terror gun. That means if you start shooting first over your opponent, like your fire rate is so high, he's going to be like, oh, just being penetrated by 1 billion bullets before you can even blink a single time. And that's amazing. What's our verdict on the M13 after all of this? The gun is absolutely beginner friendly. You've seen it. With minimal recoil control, with minimal taking care and attention of the gun, you just shoot straight. Got to consider, obviously, you're pulling off to the hard right. So pull a bit down and a bit to the left, and you're good to go. But the gun doesn't really need that much of your help. It does most of the work for you. It's perfect in those 20, 40 to 60 meter ranges. That's where the damage is. That's where you hit your headshots. Considering, though, don't shoot with this on a sniper. That's 100 meters away. Some guns, like the LMGs, like the PKM, if you shoot this on a sniper 100 meters away, you're going to go 1, 2, 3, boom, cracked, and you're good. If you shoot this on a sniper away, you're going to be like, and the sniper's like, oh, wow, I'm taking like 50 damage. Boop, you're dead. Disadvantage of the gun, advantage of the gun, obviously. Get to see and learn on which ranges to really play it and where you do your damage. It shreds. It hits on point. Take your time to learn to aim for the head or at least for the neck, so you have a higher chance to hit than for the head. Also, recommendation on the VOK optic, try to unlock the T-post in the long run, because the T-post makes every single VOK optic better. That would be my M13. That would be the M13 in many ways. You're going to see some YouTube videos coming definitely on M13 Car 98 sniping with the closed version, so you get a feeling for that, how you like it. The VOK version is obviously known. That's the standard kind of build you go for, plus minus the different foregrips. All in all, the M13 is really beautiful fun. I wish you a great time with it in the Warzone. I hope you enjoyed the M13 Explained video, or the Explained series in general, with all the guns in the Warzone to come. And yes, we're going to cover this for Cold War 2 and for then the ongoing Warzone with all the weapon changes to come. Thanks for supporting the channel. Thanks for being here. Don't forget to tune into the live stream, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. CEST German times, Twitch TV Ponyhof. And see you soon in the Warzone.